Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to Network Live TV, where we're going to talk about how to increase your networking efforts locally, nationally, or even internationally, as well as discuss things that will help you up your game online. We are here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and our goal is to introduce you to 1,000 new people this year that you can reach out to, create business with, do collaborating with, create referrals with, or just make great friends. I'm your host, Sabrina Watson, founder of NetworkLiveVirtually.com, where you can grow your business through creating live virtual relationships all over the globe. Our meetings and membership are totally free to attend, so don't miss your chance to network and build relationships with amazing people. I just want to make sure that our audience also knows that we are looking for people who are absolutely serious about building their brand and their businesses while establishing their authority and creating a larger circle of influence to come become hosts with us on NetworkLiveVirtually.com. The people we're looking for are going to have three main qualities. They're team players, self-motivated, and dependable. So if you feel like you have these qualities, please reach out to me and let's talk about the benefits of being a host with Network Live Virtually. I want to thank my guests today for taking time out of their busy schedules to come join us. I should say guest because Susan is the only one who was able to figure out how to use Blab, but she hasn't used Blab before. So actually she has done really well. So good morning, Susan.
Hi, good morning.
How are you now that you figured out how to get in here?
I'm great.
Yeah, you actually didn't have any trouble getting in here. I had trouble getting in here. I'm going to do a quick share. The buttons over on your left are for inviting people in. So, and you can actually share the last 30 seconds of our video. And I think it goes out to Twitter and to Facebook. Is that correct, Steve? Does that go 30 seconds go out to everybody? Do you know? I know that Steve's in there, so I can ask him those questions. Let me introduce everybody to Susan real quick. So I have so much to tell you about her. And then she's going to tell us a lot about herself as well. And she's going to tell you how that you can reach out to her, how you can find her, how you connect with her. Susan Borison is the founder and co-owner of Your Teen for Parents. And that are four big words. So I don't have any teens anymore, but God, I needed you when I did. So anyway, I'm going to tell you in just a second what I tell my girls all the time. I have 5 of them, by the way. When she's not wielding her red pen on the latest copy to hit her desk, she's on the phone with parents and other experts to learn what her staff should write about next. She's also a mom of 5, including 3 teenagers. She has a BA from Brandeis University and a JD from Case Western Reserve University. So welcome, Susan. I'm so glad that you're here today. Thanks for joining us.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Steve said, I understand that's it. I'll try. I forgot what I said, Steve, so I forgot what you're trying. Oh, so there you go. There you have it. So tell us all about your magazine. I'm dying to know everything about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll tell you that I started the magazine almost 9 years ago. Because there was no resource out there that I was looking for. I was, at that time, 3 teenagers. Now I have 5. Actually, that's not really true because several of them are out of teenagehood. But I was overwhelmed with this sense of what's normal for adolescents. And I couldn't find resources that were easy to access, tips that were kind of, 2 paragraphs long that could change my day. And tools that I had used when my kids were younger, which really I loved Parents Magazine. I looked forward to it every month. And I read it and I really integrated a lot of the tips that they gave in there. And most of them were for just normal parenting when we're really trying so hard to figure out, my kid just swore at me. Do I need to institutionalize them, right? Like, we don't know. Is that the sign? Is that the first red flag of serious problems down the road? Or is that the most typical thing that any parent will go through? And there's no manual for parenting. And if there was, we all would have it. But there certainly are people with wisdom who can look at what we're going through and say, chill or go get help. And so we wanted to be that resource. We wanted to step in and say, this is what normal looks like. Normal looks like many, many different things. but here's a place you can go to get that information. And when you pass normal, we're not giving you advice at that point, because then you really need to go seek help outside and go to professionals. But we really want to be that place where we expose you to all parents, all sorts of their stories that you may have felt very lonely about, and wondered if anybody else was experiencing the same thing, but you were too embarrassed to ask anybody. So our magazine, our website, we do events as well. We do webinars. All of that is an effort to give parents peace of mind, and to also give them things to really, in fact, worry about, and know that they should reach out for more help.
That's a lot, Susan. I wanted to tell you a minute ago, but I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your story first. My daughters, I have 5 of them. Whenever they ask me a parenting question, I say, "What does your mommy manual say?"
Do they have one?
And they invariably say, "I don't have a mommy manual." And I'm like, you know what? I never had a mommy manual either. So you're going to have to think about this. Do some research, and find your own answers, because my answers obviously I think that my answers were okay. All of my kids are in great shape. We don't have any, I've had nobody be in jail, no drug addicts, no addictions of any kind. They're all happily married. They all have children. Well, I'm not so sure about happily, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so I will consider that and take that as a success. So you started this journey 9 years ago, and tell me what types of things have people come to you for in those 9 years?
So we cover everything. I mean, if you look at our website, which is yourteenmag.com, you'll see the topics are so widespread. And one of the things about raising teenagers that I think is very different from raising younger kids is parents stop talking to each other. There's so much judgment about, even when you just said, I consider my 5 to be successes, that's so different for everybody, how they look at that. Like for somebody else, a child who went through an addiction but is in recovery is a massive success. But
absolutely.
But they're not telling anybody. I mean, that is so shameful. And it's so hard to stand up and say, how do I find support for this? How do I find ways to personally just manage emotionally what I'm going through? And that can range from very mild things that hit us in some deep, deep unresolved place of our own. And someone else would say, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you're having such a hard time with that," to something very, very serious like mental health issues, addiction, all sorts of other things. So where do we find out in our villages how we support each other, how we bolster each other, when there's so much shame associated with however you define failure, whatever that moment is for you? And so really the questions that come, I mean, I'll tell you some of the ones that I know are coming, but the questions that come are widespread. And one of our aha moments, we have events locally in the Cleveland area and now in Columbus and mostly in Ohio right now. And at each of those events, we put out a table with books that people send us, and parents who are at the events can come take them. And so every time at these events, there's a few books that are left over, and they're usually about sex. They're usually about drugs. They're about high risk behavior that make parents uncomfortable. And if the person staffing that table gets up and walks away, when she comes back, those books are gone. So what it says is that, people want the information, but they don't want anyone to know that they're in the position at that moment where they need that help. And so that just screams shame everywhere. And we want to say that we are all flawed, all trying to do our best the same way you gave your daughters that great advice. There's no manual. But how can we bolster each other if we can't say it, if the judgment is so powerful? But I will tell you the question that I laugh at the most, it's from a mom. The mom always starts with some big grand lead in to this terrible thing that's happening in her life. And it's usually with a daughter, and it's usually in middle school. And that daughter did not get invited to a party. And I know it's coming. I can feel the mother's pain. I totally know where that's going. And it is the biggest thing to happen to that mom since she's been a parent. Because up until that point, before your kid's in middle school, the parents are frequently navigating the social lives of their kids. And so as they get older, the kids are making their own decisions, and your friends' kids may no longer want to be friends with your kids. And in small communities, or I mean, we all create our own small communities, so we know that. There's that sense that the invitation, what used to be, didn't arrive in the mailbox. Somehow they had the wrong email. It's just not possible that my child got left out. And so should I call the parent? How should I handle this? And there's a certain humor to hearing the same question over and over again, but the pain is so profound. So we write about that. We write about those middle school social issues that take us back as parents to that time when we felt it personally and never resolved it. And when it happens to our kid, it's an absolute double whammy, and we don't know where to turn and how to fix it for our kids because we can't.
Wow, that's powerful. And it's tough, and it's so sad because you know what? I remember those days with my kids. Absolutely. I remember a birthday party for one of my daughters in which nobody showed up.
Yeah, the worst.
That pain was just, oh my God. So what sent you on this journey, Susan?
I really actually need really that sense that there was a gap in information for parents. I think in the 9 years, it's changed a lot. The internet has changed information access for everyone. And Mommy Bloggers has really changed the world of finding camaraderie in an almost anonymous way. So even if you still feel vulnerable, you can still feel that there's someone out there who understands what you're going through. And so that was the only motivation. Well, that's not true. I'll be honest with you. I was driving my kids insane because I had chosen to stop practicing law when they were little. And loved every minute of being home with them. But as they were getting older and breaking up with me, which was entirely not just appropriate, but healthy, I knew that I was keeping them back because, you know, I think for many stay-at-home parents, when you give something up to make the choice to do it, it becomes your career. And so I was being fired. And I had to replace that with something else. And I knew it was in my own personal best interest, but also in the best interest of my kids. And you know, there have been moments since then where I'm so touched because they feel really proud. And they'll do their own little version of bragging. So it was a great decision all around.
Awesome. So do you have any like super cool stories to tell us that you feel like who was give us a story about somebody that reached out to you that, whether it was through the magazine or through you personally, where you really feel like it was fun and it was gratifying and it was satisfying to help them out. Do you have a favorite story like that?
I mean, what I can tell you is that we get feedback all the time that people read the print magazine cover to cover, that when they find us online, we often get messages telling us, how come I didn't know about you? Or like you said earlier, I wish that you were around when my kids were younger. So we get more of a general overall, everything you guys are doing resonates. And I'm so grateful that you're putting it out there. Occasionally we get the comment that says, are you living in my house? Because everything you talk about is happening to me. And I feel like, because we feel so alone and so lonely in many of the parenting aspects, feeling like I didn't know anybody else was living through this is so comforting. I will tell you, on a business side, we've had so many unbelievable stories of just reaching out to people for help and having them all say yes. And we have it over and over again throughout the whole 9 years of this experience. And so we just keep getting bolder and bolder in where we will go and who we will ask. And, when I talk to people who are starting businesses, I really encourage them to ask. I mean, how good do you feel when someone says to you, do you mind if I get a coffee with you and ask for your advice?
Yeah.
Right. It's totally flattering. You're like, wow, they think I have something to say to them. So when we ask people, I can really remember, I can count on one hand the number of times people have said no. And then my business partner, Stephanie Silverman, and I are both very, we like to win at games. So as soon as you say no to us, you become someone on our list of who we're going to talk to. And so we had spent a lot of time trying to get to this one woman who she didn't see any reason to meet with us. She didn't see any overlap in interest, and she's busy. And so we put her on our list of, we need to meet with her. And we did get the meeting, and we're driving out to meet with her. And the two of us said, what are we going for again?
Because at that point, it became more the challenge of getting the meeting than where you originally started.
Yeah, I would say not even more. The only thing was the challenge. Then we did have a fabulous meeting, and we still continue to have a relationship with this woman. So it was, I say meet with everybody, either side, being asked or asking. Just always say yes, because you really never know. The ones that you think are going to change your world may not. And the ones that you kind of drag your feet and show up because you're doing someone else a favor can really rock your world.
Oh, I think that is absolutely so true, Susan. And I'm about to ask you about something in just a second, but I want to make sure that our audience and our people that are watching replays do know that one of the reasons that we're here is to help people learn about virtual networking so that you have the ability to reach out and meet people like Susan and so many others. I'm going to put a link in the chat box for one of the virtual networking groups that is happening today at 3 p.m. Diana Sandora hosts it. So if you have not networked virtually, please click on that link, register, and get your links to join us in a Zoom session. We have live audio and live video. We also have screen share. So she's going to be doing a presentation, and then we're going to do introductions all around the room and exchange contact information so that everybody can reach out and connect with each other. Susan, you mentioned that some events.
Right.
Tell me about those events again. You've got them in 2 cities, right?
So we do it on the east and west side of Cleveland. And then last year we did our first event in Columbus, Ohio. And then we were just there about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, bringing that event back to Columbus. And so our events are topics that worry parents. Our approach to those events is always to have you leave the event with less anxiety than you walked in with. So we want you to have peace of mind when you go to bed that night, because you feel like what you heard calmed you down, gave you tips, gave you tools to conquer whatever it is that's forcing you awake in the middle of the night, that feeling of like the bug eyes, and you're like, should I just give into it and get up and do something else, or should I try to go back to sleep? And so we all know that if we have teenagers. The topic that we did in Columbus and that we do in 3 locations now is college. We call it Navigating the College Process. And that creates such high anxiety. I think a lot of it is media driven right now. There's this terrible panic about what do you need to do to get your kid into college. There's 4,000 colleges plus around the United States. Mm-hmm. There's a college for every kid that wants to be going to college. And going to those highly selective colleges work for some kids, work for a very few percentage of kids and parents who think their kids should be going there. Those percent, I mean, if you've been reading about Stanford and their 4% acceptance rate, you know that is like winning the lottery for so many people. But what we want to tell parents is that's not the only way for your kid to grow up to be a successful adult. So we have experts come and speak about paying for college, the admissions process, the secret behind the admissions process, even helping. I mean, at 14, your kid starts high school and you're thinking to yourself, they have no passion. Well, no, they don't. In all likelihood, several of my kids, their passion was TV. And for one of them whose passion remains TV, I said, find out how to work in TV. Like, you don't have to look at TV as the enemy. If you love TV, figure out what people do in that industry. It's a very big industry. People are really doing quite well in that industry. So pay attention to what people are doing and turn that into your passion in a productive way and not just a passive way. So over and over again, parents walk away from that evening with such gratitude, and we get emails saying how grateful they are for that information.
Susan, I got to tell you, that is, I'm really, believe it or not, interested in those meetings and how those events? How often are you doing those?
They are, how many? We've had 4 this year. We have, I don't know how many we have scheduled next year. I think right now we have 3 scheduled for next year, but they're growing. So those were all college events. We also did one this year on middle school. And that is a huge transition in parenting style, where typically what you've been doing up until that point, whatever your style, whether it was, like a lot of strict rules in your house or very loose, one day your kid comes home and they just aren't the same as they were the day before, and you have no idea what happened. And all of the tools that you had kind of built and found successful in your relationship before then aren't really working at that moment anymore. So what do you do? And you've had 5 girls. You know what it was like to hit that stage. They're confused themselves. Their body is changing. Their hormones are affecting them. They're saying things to you that they're not even comfortable saying because they're trying to test who they want to be when they grow up. And our reaction dictates how that relationship continues. And so we had an event with 3 experts on a panel. One was from the school's perspective, one was from the psychological perspective, and one was an adolescent doctor. And then actually at the end, we had someone come on to talk about technology, because that is an overwhelming concern of parents with middle schoolers. And it was really powerful. So we'll be repeating those events also.
Are any of those recorded? Are they broadcast or?
They're all recorded. You can go to our YouTube channel, Your Teen, and they're all recorded there. And we've done bullying, talking to your children about sex. We've done many different topics in these events.
Did you say our teen or your teen?
Your, Y-O-U-R.
Y-O-U-R, your teen.
Actually, okay. Let me look that up. I'm going to get you the URL one sec for the.
Yeah, in fact, go ahead and start sharing those URLs as you think of them right into the chat box there, because I'm so fascinated, Susan. And I got to tell you, one of the things, are you familiar with Dani Johnson?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, then that'll be a whole other conversation. But one of the things that Dani Johnson has done in her coaching style is to create ambassadors around the country that are facilitators that are allowed to replay her events for community situations. So the reason I'm telling you about that is that I am a licensed facilitator for 2 of her products. And one of the things that I think would be really cool is if people were able, that are donating their time in community areas, to share some of your events. If they're being recorded, then they could do that, periodically. And we can just put you on a big screen on the wall for parents and teens in the area that want to come.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that.
That would be some crazy cool stuff. So it would be crazy cool. So what do you not enjoy, Susan, about what you do? What are your challenges?
Well, I'll tell you our challenges, but I will also tell you that we were called by the local newspaper to ask us to be in their biggest mistake, whatever the column was called. I think it was your biggest business mistake or something. And Stephanie and I were sitting and trying to brainstorm, like, what has been our biggest mistake? And we both are so not focused on what doesn't work that we really couldn't come up with what that thing was. I think every single day there's 8 billion changes, and we just so nothing has done yet. That's a really, really good thing. But many things have sideswiped us. We recently switched website hosts, and I guess if I had to say one of the biggest lessons I've learned, and I learned it before then, but not well enough, was that I have to have a working knowledge of everything going on in my business. So hiring experts seemed to me like a way to release myself from worry about that, because they were the expert and we were paying them. But if I don't have a working knowledge of it, if I don't have the language, I can't assess whether what they're doing is what I need. And I think that works from both sides. I think they find it frustrating to have a client who doesn't know their language. And I find it impossible, because there's no way for you to entirely take it off my plate. And if you're messing up, if I've hired you, but you're not doing a great job, or you're just human and there was an error, I have no way of catching that. So I think probably in a big corporation, the CEO is not doing that, but at every management level, someone is. When you're a small startup, you just have to jump into places you never cared about. I mean, I really had no idea even the setup of what it meant to be hosted on a website. And I had to call the host and have people talk to me like I was an idiot, and call back and talk again, and finally start to see that I have enough of a basis to have a conversation with somebody. But I think that's probably the biggest, outside of the content of what we're producing and learning from that, in terms of a business, that was probably the biggest aha moment.
Steve says, "Hey, Susan, where have you been all of my life? You are my dream client." Steve Henry, who is in here at the moment, is our WordPress whiz. So that's where I go when I need help. Is your website WordPress, Susan?
Of course.
Good job. Since it's 9 years old, I was thinking, So did it get a conversion at some point in time? Or how old is WordPress? How old is WordPress, Steve? I'll let you fill in those blanks. So, Susan, I want to know a little bit about you. Tell us about you, your family, how many children you have. What do you do for fun? Tell us about you.
Okay, so I have 5 kids, and my husband has just changed careers. My oldest just changed careers. My next one finished working on a TV show that wrapped, so he's unemployed. My next one is trying to figure out what she's going to do. So there's tremendous transition going on in my family right now, and all of it's really very exciting and promising and stressful and all of those
How
things.
many of them are still at home?
One.
Oh, okay. So
one lone guy who thinks he's part of my marriage. And actually, no, I think he thinks that I'm the third.
That's funny. So they're all at least out on their own trying to figure this struggle out.
Yeah, so 3 are on their own, really actually launched and self-sufficient. Although someone told me if they're still on your phone bill, a part of your family plan, then they're not really launched. But I think, taking care of your own health insurance and paying for everything else is launched. So I don't know if they'll ever get off our family plan, but I'm okay with that.
Well, I think you have to. I'm going to ask you this question: do you feel like you got to have some little bit of control still? Is that why they're still on the phone plan?
No, I think that when you're part of the family plan, it's the incremental cost for an additional kid is negligible, right. And to pull that out and do it on your own, all of a sudden it's not apples to apples. So. Yeah, I mean, we could tell them to pay us for that incremental shift, but we don't.
You know what? Actually, I have to tell you that I totally understand, because I've had a kid who's 30 years old that's still on my phone plan. But,
right.
It costs me $10 for her phone, but for her to go get a new phone is $150. It just makes good financial sense to leave it alone.
Yeah, why not? And maybe you're right. Maybe it's a way to say this is still my nuclear family. So,
my brother, for example, still has a son that he hasn't moved out, and he's in his 20s. So what's up with that? Why do we do that?
Oh, I actually can't say I can speak to it so much, but I will say that it was not a goal of ours. As much as I hated to see my kids leave, and it was really painful for me to say goodbye each time, I never wanted them to turn around and say, okay, I'll stay. So yeah, I think kids staying at home is, maybe starts out as a way to save money, but it gets real comfortable for everybody. And being on your own is scary. It's really scary. But, there are a lot of things that we have to do in life that no one would pick, but they are essential to get to the next step. And Wendy Mogul, who wrote Blessings of a Skin Knee and Blessings of a B-, she, I think, honed in on something that everyone is talking about now, but in a very different way. Everyone talks about letting your kids fail to build resilience. And I think that really what we're talking about is not letting your kids fail, because what does that mean? Like, if your kid comes home with an F, do you cheer that? And if they drop out of college, do you cheer that? No, what we are talking about is blessings of a skinned knee. When your kid, you let your kid run when they're a toddler, knowing full well they are likely going to fall. You let them learn to ride a bike, knowing that in those first moments they're going to fall and they're going to get hurt. But you let them do that because the accomplishment is, first of all, the accomplishment for that child is amazing. The confidence they get from doing it and learning that resilience to keep trying again and again. But as a parent also, learning to use the muscle that lets you watch your kid get injured in a controlled environment. And so I don't think when we talk about this conversation today about letting our kids fail, we mean it in some very big esoteric way. We really mean it in a controlled way. Your kids in high school, they blow their money on some concert, and then they come to you and say, I have no money for pants or whatever else it is. That's a great lesson, because that is going to continue in the rest of their life to figure out how to have a financial budget. But handing them the extra money is not the way to get them to learn from that experience. You have to negotiate through that failed effort. They made a mistake. And now what do you do? How do you handle it? And so those are opportunities, but it's not, it is the B- that I think we're all looking for.
Mm-hmm. So how long do you not help them get a pair of pants? How long do you make them run around without pants?
I really think that every family has to come up with their own decision about how they manage money and even how they manage rescuing their kids in whatever situation it is. In my family, there have been many times where we have said to our kids, and not about a pair of pants, but a kid wanting a trip or wanting something that we felt like was maybe a little bit entitled sounding, get a job. And I loved when that happened. I loved the determination to hit a goal. And I loved seeing the lameness of the jobs they were doing and the frustration with that. I loved everything about it.
Awesome. All right. So we don't have to make them run around without pants.
I think pants could represent a whole assortment of things.
Yes, it could, but it doesn't represent that today to us. So it does represent them being without clothes, however. So that's a need. They need to fulfill that need and get those pants, right? Steve says, take them to the store and buy them pants, the pants you want them to have.
Now that's great.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's great.
So let's talk about your communities for a minute also. So, well, actually, Susan, I want to finish up with you, a little bit of you personally. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I read. It's a little embarrassing to say this right now, but I'm kind of all into the business. So I find it fun, frustrating, everything. But my husband and I were just away for a little stint. Family is fun to me. Friends are fun to me. Exercise is fun, and reading. And I wish I could come up with something else.
That sounds to me like you came up with enough. I want to check real quickly here some stuff in our chat box. You put your YouTube channel in. What else was there?
I hope that's the URL. It looks weird.
Well, you can open another tab even while you're in Blab and find that URL. And did you put the website in here as well?
No, let me do that right now.
So does the website also have an electronic version of the paper magazine?
No, it does not. We have not done that yet. We have, in fact, we eventually put all of those articles up on the website. Mm-hmm. You can order the print magazine. I think it's on the top of the website. It says order print. You can sign up for our newsletter there. That comes out twice a week. Those are all our articles. And it comes right into your inbox. It's real easy. And we've got Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
And do you have any parent communities? Are there any online communities where people that are subscribing to your magazine can like hook up and chat with each other and find out what's going on or how other parents are handling things?
It's a great idea. We have had many people suggest it. We haven't gone there.
Okay. And is there a particular reason you haven't gone there? Just haven't found the right person to facilitate that? Or it's just, I know that there's a lot of big leaps in business, so.
I think really just resource-based.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things that we offer is you can ask the expert. There's a button on the right side, the third column of the website, where you can click and ask us a question, and we'll get an expert to answer that. But the dialogue between parents, there's a little bit going on through social, yeah, we have not created it. We talk about our.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, we do in fact talk about creating a space for parents to have that, a safe space to have that conversation. And I know people are doing it successfully. For us, it's like the play group we had when our kids were little, where you built a culture of trust and safety. And we see our magazine, all of our resources as kind of doing that, because we hope, and what we actually hear from people, that if they'll take an article and they'll share it in schools, at meetings with parents, or in gatherings with their friends. And that will be the easy way to have that conversation without you saying, my kid is doing this, but rather, did you read this article? But we have not done a dedicated space for that.
Very interesting. You also mentioned early on, we were talking about events, webinars. Did you say you guys were doing webinars as well? Tell me about those.
So we did a series of webinars with Verizon, and they were all around technology. They're recorded and they're on our YouTube channel also. They were fantastic. Technology is a really interesting space right now, and people have very, very different opinions on what parents should be doing right now. And one of my favorite speakers on the topic is a man named Himanshu Nigam, and he always talks about, are you a lean in parent? And he moves in real close, or are you a lean out parent? And his platform, which I think many people agree with, is you're going to be the same parent online that you are offline. So if you're a parent who, in your regular physical life, would go into your kids' room after they leave for school and search, really like always checking drawers, looking at diaries, and doing all those things, then you're a parent who's going to want keystrokes on your kid's computer and phone, because you're going to want to know everything they do. That is how you parent your child. And that is not judgmental. That's just how you do it. And if you're a parent who is very hands-off and really waits for your kid to come to you, has a kind of my kid, everything, it will all be fine, you're not going to put any of those devices onto your kids' computers, because you're not going to be the parent who wants to know every minute where your child is, and every keystroke that they do, and every website that they're visiting. So, it's complicated, and we're thrown by all these changes in technology. But when you distill it down to who are you in real life, don't we say IRL? Who are you in real life? You're going to replicate that. So you can then go looking for any of those tools that you want that will match who you are in real life.
That ask the expert piece that you were just talking about on your website. Have you, so is that where some of your articles come from, is the ask the expert part? Yeah.
So we will take that question, send the answer back to the person who asked it, and also anonymously put the question up with the answer on the website. So they're all there.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if that might not even be another super cool event that you could have, even just an online event using something like Zoom, that you could just, say, hey, here at, this date, 3:00, we're going to have the Ask the Expert series, and we're going to provide you with the links to our articles that help you answer those questions. Just tossing a thought out there.
Actually, I thought you were going somewhere else, which I thought also was brilliant. I like that idea. But having an expert available for you to just type in your questions and have that be the format of the show.
Well, actually, one of the other thoughts that I was having was bringing you into a live room, bringing you in virtually into a live room of people that would like to ask the expert. You, of course, could either bring your panel of experts or be the expert. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I have great advice as a mom, but there are people who have such phenomenal ideas and tips and advice from real degrees and research and years on the ground of talking to parents. So I think when we always try to have a balance of people who are sharing their perspectives, like the idea that I told you about, having the school administrator, the psychologist, and the adolescent doc. I mean, it just gives you such an entirely different picture of who your child might be outside of your space.
Yes. You've really got my head spinning. I have some serious ideas. I think, and I want to point this out to a lot of people, because I know that even people that are going to rewatch this later, there are, shall we say, less advantaged areas all over this country who do not, or think they do not, have access to people like you, Susan. And that access could potentially really be available in a once monthly kind of event at a civic hall. Most cities in the U.S. have civic halls available. And the reason I'm saying that is because I volunteer for a local civic community, civic club. And one of the things that we do, or we help with debt management and how to get out of debt, and, provide places for kids to come after school and things like that. So I'm just tossing that out there, that one of the things that I would love to talk to you about is maybe doing that Ask the Expert series virtually.
Yeah, I love the idea. Because I mean, there's nothing harder than getting information when it comes to mental health of your kids. Like, where do you go? Who do you go to? And where are the experts? I mean, really, if you're looking at rural America, underserved America, mental health is so low on the list of resources you can access.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that are so low on that list of resources.
Yeah,
that is absolutely amazing. I am just absolutely blown away by what you've done, and I wish that you were there when I needed that help. So I can't wait for the opportunity to turn my kids on to you. Do you have a Facebook community or just a Facebook page?
We just have a Facebook page.
Okay, so people can come there though on your Facebook page and ask those questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be anonymous, go to our website and ask the Expert.
Okay. All right. And let's see. We've talked about challenges. I'm excited to find out more about your events. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Cleveland. You were in Cleveland.
Yes.
I will be in Cleveland in July. So
really, what would you be in Cleveland for?
Coming up there for a Danny Johnson event.
Cool. I'd love to meet you.
She's my coach. So, I'm coming up there. I would love to meet you for that. I do want to chat with you about doing something on a virtual level. And of course, as always, I want to invite you as my guest to come join our virtual networking community. I will send you out some information about that so that you can come hook up with others, just to create businesses, collaborations, referrals. Let me ask you this question. How do you network?
So I think we really are very grassroots in that. And we are, both Stephanie and I are, we just find somebody and we network through very grassroots way. Well, I don't know if you call LinkedIn grassroots, but LinkedIn is a very huge tool for us. In sales, it's amazing. We almost never connect with people unless someone has come in the middle and connected us. And LinkedIn is beautiful for that. And ironically, Twitter is this unbelievable resource for networking. And that's on both the business side and on the editorial side. So, the web has created this democratic platform where you don't have gatekeepers anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, when I saw the article that Peggy Orenstein wrote for the New York Times, Girls and Sex, and she wrote this, the article was about the book she had just written, Girls and Sex. And I read the article and I thought, I have to interview this woman. This is unbelievable. And so I tweeted her. And I interviewed her that week. And it's just unbelievable. So, I think there are people who would not do what we do. They would feel like it wasn't okay. But I think in the world we live in today, it's not only okay, we're supposed to. Mm-hmm. So if you want to reach somebody and if they've tried to hide themselves, which is almost impossible, then you're not likely going to get to them. But if they are out there in social and writing for the New York Times with their email at the end of it, just email them.
So you also mentioned at your events that people send you books.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Is that authors that are sending you books that are available to donate to the event? How does that work?
So I don't know. They just show up.
They just show up.
I mean, sometimes we ask for them. If we are not in the business of reviewing books. We have one book review in each issue, and we have a parent and a teen review the same book. And that book we don't even ask for it because the reviewers get those books and they read them. But publishers send us their books all the time, I think in hopes of a review. We have recently started to take a closer look at them. And then we have a few people who are reading them occasionally and writing reviews. But for the most part, they show up.
Interesting. But now when you put those out there, so you put them out on the tables for people to go ahead and take.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about anybody viewing that as you either approving or supporting of that book, that author, whatever the case may be?
No, we have no endorsement with it. I mean, the only time that we ever, we really don't endorse anything. We have product pages where we've tested the products, those we've mostly asked for. And if we like them, we'll put them out there and say, hey, try it. We liked it. But we don't have a parenting tip that we can say we stand behind for all people. Now, just to plug my friend Lisa Damour, Dr. Lisa Damour, she just wrote a book called Untangled. And if there is such a thing as a parenting Bible, I would say that that's it. And anyone who has girls should. I actually think it's relevant for all relationships and that it's not limited to parenting or girls, but that is her lab. She works with girls, and so that's where her storytelling comes from and her research, but it's brilliant. So
Awesome.
That's my plug for her. Untangled.
Well, you can plug her away, and then of course I'm going to ask you to introduce me to her. So.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm going to hope to see you in Cleveland. We're going to wrap up our time together today, you guys. And I absolutely want to say thank you to Susan Borison for joining us today. Susan,
thank you.
Conversation with you today was just amazing. And I just learned so much. And I'm so excited to help you spread the word about your magazine and what you guys got going on, because there's such a huge need for it right now in our country. I just want to remind everybody, and again, people that are watching our replay, that Susan Borison is the founder and co-owner of Your Teen for Parents. You can also find her at, let me see, we've got yourteenmag.com, and is the Facebook page Your Teen Mag also?
Yeah.
Did you put that link in there?
I didn't yet, but I just put my email if anybody wants to reach out to me. And let me just do the Facebook.
Oh, look at that, Steve. There it is. It's doing that again. It won't put the page on there when we post it for anybody to see. Yourteenmag.com in the boxes down below. So, and you can find Susan at sborison at yourteenmag.com. She does have an Ask the Experts series. So if you have questions for your teen children, please feel free to reach out to Susan. Susan also endorses WordPress. Just saying, we're a WordPress community. So, Susan, I am going to send you an invite to join our community. I hope you will consider it. I would love it if you would introduce me to Dr. Lisa Damour. And I want to say thank you again so much for being here. I want to remind our viewers that we are here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we're networking. So here's what we do. We just introduce you to people to network with. We've got a brand new networking group that launches today at 3 p.m. Eastern with Diana Sandora as our host. So you can just click on the link that is in the chat box and register to receive your links to join us live with audio and video. You get to give your elevator pitch, and you also get to exchange contact information with others that are available. So now you can network with the world. So be sure to come join us. Susan, I will reach out to you in just a little bit as well on some other matters, because I really think I would like to talk to you about bringing you in virtually for our civic group. So that would be really exciting stuff.
We'd love to. Thanks.
See, it says bummer can't be there, but we'll catch the replay. Okay. All right, Susan, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next Monday. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.